Hello everybody, and what is going on? My name is Ballhawk, and I'm getting around to a very late Season 3 Articuno Division Draft analysis for the Skypillar Stadium, but better late than never. I haven't performed any transactions with the team so far. It's been performing phenomenally for me, and I guess I'll just start off by giving you guys some insight as far as what I drafted, and my thought process behind each pick, and we'll go from there. So right now, I'm 3 weeks into the season. Ideally, this should have come out before Week 1 started, but it is what it is. Life kind of got a little busy, and here we are. So let's knock this out. So I was given the 4th overall pick in the draft, and this season I wanted to try out some new stuff that I haven't done before, and the ideal core that I wanted to try out was Mega Diancie, Garchomp, and Corviknight. At getting to the 4th pick, I might have been thinking about doing a Tapu or a Rillaboom Sand Core, but when I got to the 4th pick and with Mega Diancie there, it was kind of hard to just look at it and not take it, just after the thinking about that core that I wanted to try out. So with my first pick this season, I started things off taking Mega Diancie for 17 points. And that brought us down to a 93-point budget, and it gave us a very strong offensive presence right out of the gates here. So Mega Diancie is our Rock and Fairy type, getting one leg of our Fairy Dragon Steel core knocked out right away, and it gives me a strong 160 base attack and special attacker. So doesn't really require any setup, but setup is always nice with Mega Diancie, and so hitting a 110 speed cap, it gives me a good, decent speed ceiling already, and gives me a very strong offensive presence, and that's really all I was looking for in that first pick. Mega Diancie is something that definitely, when I was talking around with some of the guys in the draft, it definitely would not have made it back to me at the end of the second round. So it was a good thing I took it when I did, and I'm excited to give it a try this season. Coming in with my second pick, I decided to pair it up with Latios. So, spell that correctly. For another 17 points, to bring us down to 76 points remaining. And I wanted to get the Garchomp Corviknight combo to go with Mega Diancie, but Alex made that impossible towards the end of the, at the end of the first, going into the second round. He took both Garchomp went towards the end of the first round, and then Zygarde and Corviknight went both to Alex on the wheel at the end of the first and beginning of the second round. So the Garchomp Corviknight core was gone, and then the Zygarde backup for Garchomp was also gone. So at this point, I was looking to maybe go with getting Gliscor and complementing that with a Scizor after that. However, Gliscor also went, I think it was like 1 or 2 picks ahead of me. So at this point, Latios is still sitting there at 17 points, the only 17-point mon left, and I knew, I wanted to get a strong dragon, and Latios is another thing that hits super hard without having to set up, especially, base 130 Draco Meteors coming from Latios are going to hurt everything that isn't a Fairy type, or a Steel type, I guess. And, it just gives me another strong, speedy attacker. One thing that's fun to run with this is Soldu now, that it was nerfed a second time, I believe. I don't know what it was before, in last generation, but I know at one point it was like, 1.5 times, its special attack or its dragon and psychic types or something ridiculous like that. It's been nerfed down to 1.2, so essentially what it is it's just a life orb, but without the recoil of life orb. So So, getting Latios there, another 130 base special attack and a 110 speed, getting another, rounding out my Dragon Fairy Steel core very nicely at this point, and, knocking out 4 types with just 2 picks, taking a look at our pick counter, or our type counter down below, leaving us with 76 points left. Coming back around at the end of the second, going into the third round, I kind of wanted to round off my Dragon Fairy Steel Core now that I was this close to it, and I kind of wanted that to be the backbone of my team. So I originally wanted to have Corviknight there. Skarmory was the next best thing, so I figured, talking to some guys, I wasn't sure if I was going to take it here or not, but it's one of those things that it always looks a little bit underwhelming. Oops, it's 13 points, not 14. It looks a little bit underwhelming before you draft it, and then once you start using it, you kind of see the value in it. The stats aren't crazy, but it's really good at what it does, and that's tanking a lot of hits with a great defensive typing, especially on the physical side. That 140 base defense is going to be great for things like, or for shielding things like Mega DNC and Latios. And then it's phenomenal for hazard control, getting down my Stealth Rocks and my Spikes. And then it also has, it's another strong, reliable defogger. So at this point, we can come over here to our checklist. We've got an immediate offensive, or we do have immediate physical offense in Mega DNC. Check that one off. We got immediate special offense in Mega DNC and Latios. Have 2 hazard removal in Latios and Skarmory. And we have our Fairy Dragon Steel Core. We also have at least 1 setup threat in Mega DNC. And defensive walls that check our offense's weaknesses. Essentially at this point we could probably check that off, but I'm gonna leave it off for now. And we'll revisit it towards the end of this at this point. So basically all this is just, it's a running tally of things that I like to draft and things I like to keep an eye on when I'm drafting to help build a more rounded team. Another thing that I like to look at is that this type count down here, I don't like to have as a lot of overlaps if I can avoid it. Some obviously aren't going to matter as much. Like let's say you get Mega Mawile, you're probably going to want to have 2 steel types on your team, just because Mega Mawile isn't really a defensive steel type, which is essentially what you want with it, with your steel type. So at this point, got a Fairy Dragon Steel Core, a little bit top heavy, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that going towards the end of the draft. But pretty ice weak right now. Our steel type, which would normally be your switch for ice type, doesn't really check it as well, especially that Skarmory is very physically defensive oriented, and it's not very well mixed between physical and special. So the next thing I was kind of looking at is, I need to have a strong ice type switching. And just looking at it at the draft board, actually no, I'm sorry, that was my next pick after this one. Sorry, let me back this up. I like to have a strong fire type, a lot of times, a strong offensive fire type. And so this next pick, it was basically just getting me another immediate physical offensive threat in fire, because Latios is a good special immediate threat. Mega DNC can go either or, and just having another base physical threat that's threatening in its own right without any setup is just going to be, it's going to be able to take some pressure off Mega DNC. It's going to make DNC a little more, or a little less predictable from week to week, and going to make it, going to free it up to run a little more sets, more creativity in its sets. So next thing that I decided to take was Darmanitan for 12 points. So Darmanitan is going to be a lot of fun. The Sheer Force Life Orb could be an option, depending on what I grab towards the end of the draft here. No spoilers. And then what this does is it allows me, it's a good speed at 95. Shores up that gap between 110 and 70 a little bit better. I'm going to look to flesh that out a little bit more. But the other thing that Darmanitan is a very good choice scarf holder, especially with the fact that it has access to Trick. So I can rattle off very strong flare blitzes with the choice scarf, or rock slides, earthquakes, what have you. And then fast access to fast momentum with U-turn is always nice to keep the momentum up. And then being able to trick a choice scarf onto something like a Toxapex or a Blissey, or just something that it's not there to really physically or offensively check you or threaten you, but it's it likes to have a lot of non-offensive moves. So Darmanitan will be good for that as well. Next up, we've got Milotic, who is going by the name of Captain Marvel this season. Now, Milotic is going to be kind of the glue that holds this team together this season, with two really good abilities for this team. One being Marvel Scale. So what that does is once it's burned or gets a status, I believe if it's any status, but the easiest one, the best one to self-inflict is a burn with the Flame Orb. Marvel Scale says that once it is statused, its defense is times 1.5. So making Milotic not just a specially defensive wall, but it also makes it very physically bulky as well. And this is a very strong ice type switch, and so now Darmanitan is sort of a switch-in, but you're not going to switch it into anything more than like maybe once, just because of how frail it is. But Milotic is now a legitimate ice type switch-in, giving me access to better protect things like Mega DNC, Latios, and Skarmory. And then the competitive ability in Milotic, so I've already got a really great hazard setter in Skarmory, and Skarmory and Milotic just work hand in hand so well. Skarmory being able to set up the hazards and Milotic being to pressure the opponent to not go for defog, and just keep the hazards up, because if I threaten that I'm running competitive, getting a status or a stat drop is going to multiply Milotic's special attack by ×2. So that turns Milotic not only into a very bulky thing that's hard to break, but it makes it a very potent offensive presence as well, as long as I don't switch it out. And then getting access to Haze and Recover, those are going to be key as well. And being able to soak up status attacks, because ideally Milotic is already going to be burned, so it's not going to be able to be toxic. So it's not going to be able to just be on such a timer, so to speak. So very, very strong backbone to this team, and I was excited to get this in the 5th round. Coming up next in the 6th round, we decided to add a little more bulk to the team, getting Chansey for 10 points. Chansey will be going by Miss Dumpty this season. By the way, so Mega DNC will be going for what will be known as I Could Be Your Girlfriend. Latios will be Starscream, Skarmory is Rhinoceraptor, and Darmanitan is BBM Fireball. I felt the need to go through and get those 4 nicknames out now that I spoiled these two. But Chansey gives me another strong hazard setter, so now I can check this box off. And I feel like at this point I can really go through and check off the walls that check the offense's weaknesses, because Skarmory and Milotic are two very physically strong defensive options that both can threaten in their own right, offensively as well. And then Chansey is just that really bulky special defensive wall that is not going to be broken easily at all. Even if it does have its Eviolite knocked off, Chansey is just going to be an annoying pain for my opponent to deal with. And the other cool thing that Chansey has now is Teleport, so if my opponent has a very strong special attacker that things like Mega DNC or Latios or Darmanitan or something that just doesn't want to deal with, I can switch out to Chansey and then just teleport into something that threatens their threat. So Chansey is going to be a very strong member of this team, and excited to bring it. Gives me another Stealth Rocker, gives me a Wish and Heal Bell Cleric, and yeah, just has a lot to the team that wasn't there before. Some good strong slow turn momentum, and looking forward to use Chansey this season. Coming up next, we had Vika Volt. So normally at this point, with speeds being the way that they are, you probably don't want to feel too comfortable capping out at 110, just because a lot of faster Pokemon have been introduced into the game now, and 110 nowadays isn't really as fast as it was before, so relatively speaking. So being able to add sticky web support here in Vika Volt was pretty big. Also gives me another slower mount, so my team isn't quite as easily taken advantage of in Trick Room, and gives me another slow momentum option with slow Volt Switch. Gives me the ability to hit through screens, or not screens, but substitutes with Bug Buzz. And yeah, just another strong, a strong, specially threatening mon with a high 145 special attack. Another thing that has self-recovery and roost. So let's see here, we got Latios, Skarmory, Milotic, Chansey, and Vika Volt that all have a form of self-recovery and roost or recover, or soft foil. So that's pretty nice that the team is able to kind of keep itself going. So I don't really need to use Wish on Chansey at all. So I can best use it as a soft-boiled, slow momentum gaining teleport wall, so to speak. So excited to have Chansey on the team, and I think Vika Volt is just going to just complement everything on this team so far. The sticky whips are going to make pretty much everything on my team faster than a lot of what the fastest thing on my opponent's team is going to be from week to week. I think let's see here. With webs, Milotic is going to outspeed pretty much something that's 121 base speed or faster. So that's pretty cool, as long as I'm max speed with the plus nature on Milotic, obviously. But having that ability is pretty big, especially when you got very strong offensive threats like Mega Diancie, Latios, and Darmanitan staring down at you. So, and more hazard support in general to better complement Milotic. Next up, we've got Vika Volt's nickname, by the way, is going to be Quit Bugging Me. Quit Bugging Me. Alright. Coming in next, we decided to add Moira's Roses, and what that nods to is Schitt's Creek. One of me and my fiance's favorite shows right now on Netflix, Schitt's Creek. If you haven't watched it, check it out. It's really fun, lighthearted, really good humor. But anyway, I took Roselia for 4 points, and gives me more hazard support with spikes and toxic spikes. Give me a cheap grass type Pokemon, and gives me a grounded poison type now as well. The reason why that is big is that I don't have to waste, or I don't have to worry about running Rapid Spin or Defog in order to get rid of toxic spikes on my side of the field now. So that is very key as well. Roselia has a surprisingly strong special attack at 100, so has access to Leaf Storm and Giga Drain, and Synthesis as well, another self-healing mon. Has the ability to hold Eviolite. So yeah, not too much else to say here other than Roselia put in a lot of work in the Moltres, or the Lugia Division Finals. It was Moltres Division Finals last season, so yeah, excited to have Roselia, excited to try it out. And that brings us to our next mon. We have Cofagrigus. Took Cofagrigus for 9 points. Gives me another Toxic Spiker. And so, if you're looking down in the section to the bottom right, you see just all these hazard setters just kind of slowly stacking up. So, a lot of things for my opponent to have to worry about as far as hazards go. And then, again, the ultimate game plan that I was thinking about coming into, finishing this draft out is I wanted to add Passimian in some way, just to give me another defiant, hazard removal punishing threat. So, but I really wasn't able to fit it in cost-wise with the rest of my team. But the other thing that I forgot to mention about Roselia is it rounds out my Firewater Grass core as well. But back to Passimian. The reason why I like Passimian a lot is because it's kind of reminds me a lot of Darmanitan, having that fast Choice Scarf potential. I don't know if it gets trick or not, but having the Defiant ability just to threaten the removal of my stats, or of my, if my opponent decides to remove the hazards with Defog, Passimian's attack is going to be very hard to deal with, and it has a lot of good coverage. So that was the kind of thought process behind adding Passimian at the end of the draft here. But ultimately, just didn't fit points wise, and I already had Milotic, so I was okay with that. Next, decided to go to Cofagrigus instead, and I believe, let's see here, I'm not entirely sure if I remember what we decided to nickname Cofagrigus. It might come back to me, but we'll move on for now. Having the Mummy ability is going to help with things that are very physical, that rely on their ability, like maybe say Mega Charizard, or Dracovish, or Excadrill, or Dracozolt. Having the Mummy ability to get rid of Pokemon that rely on their ability is pretty big. And then it's more reliable than the Wandering Spirit as well, and its cousin Ruinrigus. It gives me a spin blocker in my own right, and it shores up my fighting weakness a little bit. It gives me, I didn't really have a fighting weakness, but it gives me another switch in for something that wants to hit Chansey really hard, and it gives me some more bulk and just overall girth to the team. Another strong, very physical physically defensive mon, and it allows it to run body press and just be super defensive and annoying to get rid of. So it's there to spam Will-O-Wisp, Toxic Spikes, Pain Split, Body Press, Hex, just be really annoying. So I'm looking forward to using Coffin Krigus, and I think it helps his team out quite a bit. Also, again, being a spin blocker, it forces my opponent to have to use Defog to get rid of hazards if I feel like they could bring a rapid spinner from week to week. So, and then coming up next, we had Spiked T and Sand Slash for 3 points. And so Sand Slash is kind of a forgotten mon a lot of the time. It's slow, base 65 speed. It's kind of weak, especially having a 55 base special defense. But it has decent HP and 75 and definitely middle of the road. But its 110 defense is nothing really to sneeze at. It's respectable, and it has a solid 100 base attack. So it can be threatening in certain situations. Has a Sand Rush ability, which is it'll be niche. I don't see myself running that too much from week to week. But the other things that Sand Slash mainly does is it gives me another reliable stealth rocker, or a more reliable, more willing stealth rocker or spiker, and it gives me access to rapid spin, so I can leverage keeping my hazards on the opponent's team or on the opponent's side of the field, but removing my own hazards on my own side. So that's something that also helps my team out quite a bit. Looking at the speed tiers for a moment here before we get to the last pick, I think they're rounding up pretty nicely. This 95 to 110 gap is 15 is an okay gap. Ideally, I'd like to see that down to around 12 to 10 in between speed jumps, but I think it's okay here, and you'll see my last pick, I kind of shore that up a little bit. This 95 to 81, same thing. It's okay, not quite ideal though, and then everything else just looks quite nice, to be honest with you. So I like my speed tiers. I think they're going to be intact no matter what at this point. And then going to the last pick, that's the only thing I was really looking to shore up. My ice weaknesses, they're okay. I'm not gonna bring Roselia or Sand Slash each week, so having Milotic just be there, that blanket check for ice is pretty nice. And then Darmanitan is gonna be able to deter freeze dry to an extent. And then Chansey is just very especially strong, and most ice attacks that are going to threaten this team are going to be from these special sides. So I think I've got my ice weaknesses shored up, or a little more solid than what this might be showing. My team is definitely going to be weak to rocks overall, which isn't ideal, but it's not the end of the world at all by any means. Right now we're showing ourselves to be a little bit ghost weak, which we've got Chansey there, so take that with a grain of salt. And yeah, that's about it. So let's get to the last pick. Our last pick coming in, we were thinking about getting Scrafty, but it was 6 points. And at the end of the day, I'm kind of happy that it was too expensive for me. So I went to a reliable old friend in Lipard for 5 points to maximize our budget and our roster, getting an full 11 man mon roster. And with Lipard, we finally have our dark type. Helps us out a lot in the type weakness chart there. I'll give ourselves a 106 base speed, so closing up that gap between Darmanitan and Latios quite a bit, and has some pretty good abilities in Limber, Unburden, and Prankster, all being noteworthy from week to week. Don't sleep on Lipard. Having a Prankster, being able to trick away a full incense or a Lightning Tail, making something that just outspeeds my team all of a sudden is huge and can win weeks, depending on the matchup. A Substitute, Nasty Plot can be big. Focus Sash on Burden has solid physical coverage as well, with things like Gunk Shot and Plate Rough. I think it also has Crunch or something else. But yeah, Library can do a lot of cool things. Prankster T-Waves is also nice. So and access to Momentum and U-Turn. Kitty Lipard is going to be nicknamed Kitty Perry. So that is the team for the Hinterland Woodhammers for Season 3 in the Skypillar Stadium Articuno Division. I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and look forward to my weekly uploads for the games that I played this season. All right, peace, and I'll see you next time.